I feel like it's very unrealistic when people say, like, I'm just going to go to the gym every day this week. You cannot pay me enough to go to the gym on a Saturday. And his oncologist said nutrition only helps 5% and it's not worth depriving yourself. Today, this is a listener question. Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Pre-Diet Podcast. My name is Allie Virtue. I am a functional medicine nutritionist, the owner of Parkside Nutrition, and your host for the Pre-Diet Podcast, where I am all about unlearning the diet rules and giving you the tools to rewrite that healthy living playbook. So before you do anything else, make sure you are subscribed to the Free Ship Friday email list at parksidenutrition.com/subscribe to get access to the exclusive subscriber-only library full of free resources. Every single Friday, I send out an email. You can expect 3 things from this email. It will have a recommended recipe. It will have one free tip, tool, or training. That could be a podcast, YouTube video, some free download of some sort, and one question I want you to ponder for this next week. If we don't change how we think, it's going to be very hard to change how we act. All right, let's get into today's podcast. Today, this is a listener question. So this person reached out. They said they listened to the podcast. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is what they wrote. I'm struggling with how to handle a close family member's health. They've been severely obese for years, have very, very limited mobility, and refuse professional help because they insist that they can do it on their own. But nothing changes. I feel torn because I want to be supportive. I want to help them in any way I can, but the guilt tripping and sometimes the friction between the family just kind of makes it harder. Honestly, I don't even feel comfortable leaving my children in their care because of safety concerns. Am I wrong for feeling this way? How should I approach this situation? Dang, that is a tough situation. I can really empathize with this person. I personally, if you don't know my personal story, I really wanted to help my dad's health. I was just getting into nutrition when I was in college, end of college. And my dad at that point had been battling cancer for over a decade, 14 years or so. And I really, really wanted him to just be healthier. I wanted him to be around. I was just barely graduating college and, no serious relationship. I wanted him to be able to walk me down the aisle and all of those things that, we dream of, as far as things we want to experience with our family. And that didn't come to be right after I graduated college. My dad passed away from cancer in that following October. And we had tried a couple times year before, we were going through different cancer treatments. And I remember asking his oncologist, who he trusted implicitly, hey, you're doing all these treatments. And he had initially kind of lined out, our options for treatment and what was going to be kind of towards the end of the line type of treatment, last resorts, things like that. And I remember being on those treatments, or my dad was at that stage and realizing that we're kind of running out of options here. And I remember asking in one of his appointments, hey, you're doing all these treatments in the hospital. What else can we do at home? Is there anything we can do? Nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, anything else like that? Just really wanting to take ownership of some other aspect of his health besides just feeling completely reliant on other people to support him. And his oncologist said nutrition only helps 5% and it's not worth depriving yourself. And for me, that was just so disempowering. One, because it's like, who are you to decide that? If this gives me 5 more%, if I want 5 more%, I can take advantage of it. If I don't, I don't. But for me, that was really tough pill to swallow. And I probably stubborn enough that I really didn't like that answer. I like to, you know, take action on things. And once my dad heard that, it was pretty tough to say anything else. I kind of became the food police, and that was really tough because I mean, I had a hard time maybe explaining the genuine perspective that came from of like just a kid wanting their dad to live longer and be able to walk them down the aisle. But I wasn't able to do much after that. So anyway, all I can say is I can definitely empathize with the family. And I know where this person comes from. It's from a genuine place of care. It's not from a place of judgment. I really wanted to help my dad with his health, and I don't think I was very successful. And honestly, that makes me do this job to the degree that I do. I was headed for a career in medicine as like a physician's assistant, so I thought. And after that experience, I was like, I think I really want to be on the preventative side of things and teach people how to eat before, 20, 30 years. I realize there's a limit to what we can do when someone's really far along in their illness and chronic disease. But if I can teach people how to eat and teach people how to live in just a slightly better way that gives them a slightly better trajectory, decades down the line. I felt like that was really worthwhile. And so here I am. But all that to say, I understand this question a lot. So let's dig into my reply for this. No, in short, I don't think this person, you are horrible at all. I think it's natural to feel very protective over your children, and their safety. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. I know if someone has limited mobility, just coming from a functionality standpoint of like being a fit person myself and training some people that are on their fitness journey, it can be unnerving how unsteady people can be. And you add a kid or a baby in that scenario, I can definitely see how that could make a person very, very nervous of that. And nothing, personally against that person. It's just it can be a natural concern from a parent. So I totally understand that. A couple resources came to mind. Obviously, it sounds like this person has tried a personal trainer, nutrition coach. I'm guessing that's what they mean by professionals, doctors. Nowadays, we have GLP-1s that can be really helpful, but I've also had a lot of clients that don't tolerate those medications very well. So I'm assuming that's part of this picture when they say professionals. But some resources that come to mind when I was reading this question is one tool that I use called the habit contract. And maybe if you want a visual of this, please comment below this wherever you're listening to this podcast or send me a message and I will happily do a visual version of this. But this is a worksheet that I do at corporate events or corporate workshops, health workshops a lot, and it's really well received, if I do say so myself. So the very top of this paper, I have your goals, big goals on the left. And right next to those, parallel to those lines, is the why. And for my personal worksheet, you can see that my why, one of my big whys is longevity. Why do I do this? Why do I put so much effort into my health and taking care of myself? Longevity, I want to live a really high, long quality life, etc. And next to that is a picture of my family. And that is why I want to live a high quality life, is for my family. That's it. It's not to have six-pack abs until I'm 60. I don't care about that. I care about being there for my family. I care about being strong and fit and capable for them. Pretty strong why. If your why is strong, just imagine someone trying to make fun of you for it and it just like bounces off. It's like, no, you're not going to dissuade me from that. That why is too strong for that. And then for my other why, when I've used this worksheet in the past, I'm very happy to say I'm past this problem or phase in my life. But binge eating used to be a huge problem for me when I was in grad school, a little bit after grad school, and I used to really struggle with it. And it's not really the case anymore. And one of the strategies I got through that is really solidifying that caricature, if you want to call it that, or version of myself that I saw for myself in the future of like a really good nutrition professional. And when I fully completed all the characteristics of that future self of me, I didn't binge eat. And I saw that vision of myself being that high quality professional that I wanted to become so clearly. And that helped me kind of let go of those qualities and those traits that no longer served me when I'm in the pursuit of becoming that better version of myself. So I had longevity as a goal, I had stopping binge eating as a goal, and next to that, as a why, I had my family, and then I had to be a good professional and good at my job. Those are my whys, and those are super strong, right? No one could dissuade me from pursuing those things. They're so important to me. So that's at the top of my sheet, top of my focus. And then what I want to pivot to real quick, and then we'll come back to that kind of that framework or with the habit contract, is how do we elicit true habit change? What makes the difference in succeeding versus failing? And I work in a diet industry essentially, right? There's a lot of failure. I don't know how many times that I've jumped on a call and said, and someone has told me that, I've been dieting for 20, 30, 40 years. Why are you any different? And that takes a little bit of a gut check, right? And so I always ask people when they are doing well, what's the difference? Why are you succeeding? You've tried things in the past. I don't feel like this is earth-shattering stuff that I'm spitting out here, but what makes this time successful? And a lot of times, I'm happy to play a role in it, but a lot of times they said, I decided to do it. I stopped thinking of other options. I stopped calling it a diet. I said, it's my lifestyle. It's just me. It's just how I live. So those are really interesting to me. So I'm a big graphics person. I said, comment on this video or comment on this podcast and I will definitely make a visual. But if we imagine a pyramid, I like pyramids because they got a strong base and they have a direction. They go up. So if you imagine a pyramid, the very bottom of the pyramid, I have those two pictures that I just talked about. So my whys. my whys are my family and being a good professional. So to represent me as a good professional, I have a brand photo of myself. And so I have that brand photo of myself plus my family. Those are my two whys underneath the bottom of my pyramid. And that first layer of the pyramid for me is identity and mindset. So I identify as a very good nutrition professional, and I identify as a very good, loving family member. So with that identity, that starts to form my mindset, and my mindset starts to form my focus. And then we go up the pyramid. So focus is our next layer of the pyramid. So if my identity, my mindset, my focus are all aligned, my willpower and discipline get better because I'm staying focused on the person I am trying to become and the reason I'm trying to become that version of myself. So that those levels of the pyramid so far, identity and mindset, all one level. Next level, focus. Next level on top of that, willpower and discipline. These are things that people think they just have to have. These are really things that we have to cultivate and practice and do on a daily basis and create a really strong foundation for. And if we do that, they do become easier. But we can't just have a very brittle foundation for those things that are hard. Willpower is hard. Having discipline is hard, but we need a strong foundation to make them stronger. And if we do that, we start to change our behavior. And when we start to change our behavior, we get different results. And I think that is when people are saying, I decided to do it. That is such a strong statement that that's where those results really stick and really last. So I just wanted to kind of hopefully paint that visual for you because I think that is a really good layer or kind of order of operations for how we truly make the habit change stick and last for a really long time. It has to have a solid foundation. We can't just pull that goal out of the air. All right, if we circle back to the habit contract, so we have our big goals at the top, we have our whys there, front and center. And then if we go below that, I have nutrition, movement, and other. So those are kind of big categories of wellness for me. I'm usually talking to people about their food. I'm talking to people like, are you moving? What kind of exercise do you do, et cetera, on a regular basis, getting the details there. And then usually other is any accessory habits that just help us make the other big factors easier or more consistent. So with those kind of three columns, next to those three columns, I have plan A, then below it, plan B, then below it, plan C, and then believe it or not, below that, plan D. So for plan A is the ideal scenario. Plan B is 80% performance. Plan C is my minimum effort. Plan D is plan don't. Then we're not going to do it anymore. So let's go back up to the top where we have nutrition and movement. I think movement paints the best picture for this example or for this strategy. And so for plan A is the ideal scenario. So for movement and exercise, my ideal scenario would be I get to go to the gym in the morning, I get to ride my horse, I get to go on a walk with my dog and my husband that evening. Like that would be my ideal perfect day. Now, working a full-time job, that doesn't really happen. My ideal scenario does not happen all the time, but that's what I strive for. If I have time, have the mental energy, the energy budget for it, I would love that. So that's my plan A. Plan B is what happens 80% of the time. We need to be realistic with this because that's how we build confidence that we can do what we say we're going to do. I think that matters a lot. Don't put it out in the universe if you know that's impossible of like, yeah, I'm not going to get that done. Don't do that. Plan B is what you can realistically execute 80% of the time. And so for me, for exercise, that is, I can usually get movement 2 times per day. So I usually go to the gym in the morning and then I usually get a walk in later or I ride my horse. I do 2 out of those 3 things. I don't get to do all of them all the time, but I aim for 2 of those things. That's my 80%. So it's a walk in the morning, a walk in the evening, or it's go to the gym and ride my horse, or it's go to the gym and walk in the afternoon. Some combination of those things. Plan C is minimum effort. Plan C is really powerful. So you might think, geez, how many plans do I need? Shouldn't I just aim for the same thing every day? Well, this is where I feel like the human element comes in and we need to be adaptable, but we need to have less decisions to make on the fly. That doesn't help people typically. So this gives us a flexible but defined structure to work within. So Plan C came about for me when I was working really long hours on Tuesdays. And this is 100% my fault. I work for myself. And Plan C came about when I was working just really long hours from like 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night or 8 o'clock at night. It was just really long days, didn't really give myself much of a break. And I found out very quickly that I was not a very happy person. I just needed more movement. I needed more activity in my day to just perform optimally. This was not necessarily from like a weight loss standpoint or anything like that. I just didn't feel my best. which is a big goal of mine. So plan C came about because I made myself a deal. There's no reason I can't go for a 15-minute walk on those days. It was completely unrealistic to probably get to the gym or ride my horse on those days. They were just too busy. So Tuesdays became a plan C kind of day where I just made the expectation that I get out for a 15-minute walk. And this greatly improved my mood. It greatly improved my activity for the whole week because I didn't have that big fat zero of zero movement on that Tuesday. And because I defined it as just a 15-minute walk, there was absolutely no reason I couldn't make that happen. And as many of you could probably predict, that I actually ended up walking more and I found more opportunities to walk and get movement in on those days because I started to add movement into my schedule on that day, made more room, and it just really improved my consistency and overall average of effort and movement for the week. So big successes from just making that little adjustment there. Plan D. So I mentioned this is plan don't, as in this is not what we are doing anymore. We are leaving this habit behind, and this is called the habit contract. I have a place to sign this at the bottom, so we can make it that meaningful. We sign it, and we are committing to this set of actions because we're defining them together. So hopefully you can agree and make this realistic for yourself. So for me, I wrote down binge eating. I wrote down skipping 3 days in a row. I wrote down doing nothing because I've now defined my minimum effort, which is above zero. It's walking at least 15 minutes a day for the movement side of things. And as far as binge eating, that was a habit that I absolutely needed to leave behind. It is a complete contrast, does not align at all with my whys. It doesn't align with longevity. It doesn't align with me being a very good nutrition professional. It is something that needs to be left behind and completely broken up with. So that is why it's under Plan D. So I feel like for exercise, it's very easy to define these habits. We want to move with intention 2 times a day. That's usually very successful for a lot of people, whatever level of fitness you're at, whether that's you're going to CrossFit classes or you're lifting in the gym or you're going for runs or you're just needing to walk a couple times a day. If that's 5 minutes, 5 minutes 2 times a day, that's fine. But two intentional bouts of movement each day, I think is very, very powerful. And it can change into whatever we need it to. We can graduate levels, we can increase it, but there's a simple structure to it that works really, really well. So I definitely encourage you to kind of define your ideal scenario, define what is very realistic for 80% of the time. 80% of the days you can make that happen, and then define your minimum effort. So when we're talking about nutrition in plan A, plan B, plan C, this can be a little bit more subjective. It might be a little bit harder to define, but I encourage you to just really think about this and maybe work backwards. So for plan D, like I said, for me, I'm no longer binge eating. So that was off the table as plan D. Work up from that. What's the minimum effort I can do for nutrition? Well, whatever I'm eating, whether it's perfect, not perfect, good food, bad food, whatever you want to call it, I can stop before I'm too full. That's within my control, right? Because that's how I'm putting the food in my mouth, how I'm putting in my food in my body, or I can think positively about it as well. That's another good plan C. So the minimum effort there, maybe let's define that. And maybe for plan B, if we're thinking and wanting to hold ourselves to a certain level of success, 80% of the time I can do this. I would say this is a great time to write down, 2 out of 3 meals are protein and plants, protein and non-starchy plants, protein and non-starchy or colorful plants, something along those lines. Or maybe we can say 80% of our meals come from home. So that's only eating out a couple times a week. Maybe from here, plan A is really dependent on you. Some people, if they're very advanced, they would say, I'm going to hit my macros, ideally. Maybe they give themselves a range. And if you have no idea what macros are, don't worry about it. Some people might say, I'm going to log my food. Ideal scenario, I would love to log my food every single day. That's great. Gives us a lot of information. We don't need to be perfect with it, but we need to be accountable to the food that we're choosing to eat and consume and put it in our food log. So that could be a good one. I know the nutrition one could be a little bit more subjective and a little bit harder to define, but I definitely still think that's worth a shot. As far as our accessory habits, these are things of like getting to bed at a certain time, turning the TV off, anything that's helpful to make the food and the nutrition a little bit easier. Maybe this is putting on your calendar, going grocery shopping on Saturday or Sunday, or meal prepping on Sunday, or outlining what your meals could be or the dinners could be for the week. Whatever kind of limits your decisions, limits the chaos, the overwhelm that kind of tends to come up and tends to derail you during the week, those are great accessory habits to just make the journey a little bit smoother through the week. So this is the big thing here. So I would love for you to take all that information from the habit contract, which you wrote down there, plan A, B, and C for movement, and then plug that into your calendar. So like I said, if I'm looking at my calendar and I'm looking at my habit contract, I have that plan C is for Tuesdays, like I said. So if I have a really busy day, a really early morning, I'm not going to make it to the gym before work starts. That's a plan C day. I just plan to walk at some point during that day and for a minimum of 15 minutes. No real reason I can't get that done on 99.9% of the time. So I'm going to put that on my calendar of just walk. And then those other days where I can get to the gym, ride my horse, I'm going to plug that in. So it's on my calendar. There's no guesswork. I'm going to do the things on those days. And again, I'm saying ride my horse. I'm saying gym. This is yours. So you plug in your walk times. If that's 15 minutes, just plug 15 minutes in. So you have a reminder. It's on your calendar, whether that be your phone or a physical calendar, whatever keeps your life on track. We're actually plugging those actions that are hopefully reasonable, hopefully realistic for you onto your calendar. Another example I'll use from this, so those accessory habits are really helpful to, again, to plug into our weekly calendar because I do this, I don't necessarily plug it into my calendar, but mentally, one of the accessory habits that really helps us perform well as a household is limiting our evening TV time to just Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, because we don't tend to sleep well if we stay up too late watching TV. Me especially. My husband can fall asleep to the most violent action movies, but I am wired afterwards. So that really doesn't help me sleep, perform, function well the next day. So we have that as kind of like a house rule of like family TV time, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. We also kind of mentally have on our calendar meal prep on Sunday. We shop on Saturdays and Wednesdays typically. And those things really help us out. You can also put your nutrition on your calendar. So if you know that you are eating out on Friday and maybe Sunday morning, let's flag those days as days that we're going out to eat. And the other days, hopefully we could try to eat from home or have some sort of plan when it comes to food. So we're not really surprised when, oh, we have another brunch come up. Oh, I had to go out to eat with friends like that. We can get a really good global view of the whole week and make sure that we're still eating at home, eating to our goals, eating for our goals the majority of the time. So this is really, really helpful. And I'll try to link these resources in the subscriber library. So if you do subscribe to parksidenutrition.com/subscribe, the Free Shit Friday email list, I'll try to put these things. Some of them are probably already in there, but I'll put these worksheets into that library so you guys can access to them, and hopefully this makes a little bit more sense. But really trying to put our adaptable plan within the habit contract on our weekly calendar so we know exactly what days we're aiming for what. I feel like it's very unrealistic when people say like, I'm just going to go to the gym every day this week. Maybe if you want to stay that consistent. Me personally, you cannot pay me enough to go to the gym on a Saturday. I go to the gym so many other days of the week and get up early and make it a priority. And I love that. But I want Saturdays for me, myself, my farm, my family, so we can use our fitness and just focus on other things. It's just not a care in the world. It's not a priority at all, going to the gym on a Saturday. And I find a lot of peace with that. And it makes me love the routine. It loves the schedule, but also it loves the time off. So I feel like that gives me a lot when I talk about my overall schedule and things that I love and look forward to. So remember, just to kind of summarize, let's put those nutrition ideals, the plan A, B, and C for nutrition, for movement, for those accessory habits, we put that on our calendar. This sounds really overwhelming. That's fine. This is a lot. This is why I like to do this in person for corporate wellness workshops. The visuals definitely do help a lot, but I really wanted to bring this tool to light because it came up. It was the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking of that listener question, because she's really struggling. And granted, this is tough to implement as a family member. I get it. Like I said, I was labeled the food police and by my dad because I was trying to, dictate or help. I really didn't want to dictate, but I wanted to help him eat better. And so, but I became the food police. So it's really hard to work with family. I'll just say that. But I know a lot of my clients really, really struggle with this. So this listener question is by no means unique at all. I brought this up, in fact, this question, this topic to my group program because I thought more brains, better chances of finding solutions, or at least reframing the solutions, the similar solutions, into something more helpful for this person. So I did ask my group program, and one person said the family member has to want to get healthy. And my husband's actually shared this as well. He had a big health struggle before we met. And one of his coworkers said, "Do you even want to get healthy? It seems like you want to be sick. And that knocked him on his ass because he was like, of course I don't want to be sick. I don't want to feel this way. And the coworker asked, like, well, it doesn't seem like you're doing much about it. And man, like that seems so confrontational, but like he is now so forever grateful for that kick in the pants because he got serious about it. He'd had recommendations, he had tools to kind of semi address the issues, but he'd never really taken enough action. He thought he had, but he realized very quickly that there was another level of things that he could do about the problem. So, you know, that's great advice too. Do you even want to be healthy? And if we don't want to, that's fine. I've had clients where I'm kind of saying the same thing each week, and someone was like, I think I've reached my peak as far as diet. I think I'm healthy enough. They feel good enough, they feel like they've made enough changes, like that's as much as they want to put into it. That's fine. That's fine. This is your life. You get to choose how you want to feel. If you're not happy with that, there's things we can do. If you are happy with that, that is totally fine. That is totally fine. You've won. You've won. You've arrived, right? You are at the destination you want. Congratulations. Like you're set. Another person from the group, when I asked them, they said stopping is not helpful. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, who said this, she always says that she's on the slower track with some of these habits. But I keep reminding her, so many people quit. So many people quit and restart that it seems like you're slow, but you just never stop. And if somebody stops, like that just doesn't make sense to me. It's like saying you're going to try to be a millionaire for 6 months or a year or 2 years. And then at the end of that time period, you're like, well, didn't work. Guess I better give up and spend all my money. Like, there's no point. Like, there's no point. There's no point in quitting. You can only better yourself if you keep trying. Another person said, find a group to join. Someone in your age, your demographic, a group that makes you feel really seen, heard, comfortable, but also holds you accountable. And it can, again, be someone outside the family. That I think that is really helpful. I certainly had a hard time working with my family, and I know others have seen the same thing as well. Another person said, you have to want to change. You have to be 100% bought in. This person said they did the group program for like a month or so, and they're like, yeah, I realized very quickly that I wasn't really bought in. And then I got serious and I saw a big change in months 2. So being real with yourself, how much are you putting into this? How much are you actually doing the things? It's one thing to know the things, it's one thing to know what you should be doing. It's a whole different ballgame to actually show up and do it and have no doubts in your mind of like, yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. It's very common, I think, to need that gut check of, am I 100% in? Am I actually doing this stuff? Another person asked, what's keeping you from doing it? And I think this person said their mom they said they hadn't decided to do it, hadn't decided yet. And so at least they're in that stage of awareness of like, yeah, I'm not really doing the things yet. It's still a goal of mine, but I'm not quite taking it seriously yet. So I think hopefully there's some relief in that. So we're just aware and we're not necessarily trying to deceive ourselves of like, yeah, I'm still working on it when we're not. So I think that can be a frustrating place to be as well. Another person said counseling, therapy. I think that's an excellent choice, excellent decision, or excellent tool to tap into as well. Because I think quite often people are seeking diet, seeking health changes when there's a lot of underlying stress and underlying factors that are potentially inhibiting their efforts as well. Another person said a GLP-1 or appetite suppressant or something like that. Those tools are definitely out there, and I'll have to do a more complete podcast on my thoughts on that because I think a lot of people find that pretty surprising when I talk about it. But that's a whole nother conversation for another episode on this podcast. But all right, guys, that's what I have for that listener. Thank you so much for asking that question. I really appreciate when you guys reach out with your questions or topics because I absolutely love talking about this stuff, but I don't necessarily know exactly what you guys want to hear about. So if you are interested in either me answering a question for you or suggesting a topic, by all means, please reach out through social media, or you can email me, Ali, A-L-I, at parksidenutrition.com. If you liked this episode, please like it, please share it, please follow the show wherever you're listening. Please comment on this podcast if you would love to see a YouTube version of this. I would be happy to do that. Otherwise, make sure you are subscribed to the free Shit Friday email list at parksidenutrition.com/subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode.